Well, it's officially that time of year again where we look back upon what was, and what was an incredible high school girls volleyball season. Some athletes put on a clinic and some teams certainly made their presence known. Starting in the East Penn Conference East Division, here's our first surprise, although not much of a surprise to head coach Donna Roman and the girls over at Freedom. This program has been building, and this year was their time to shine, and that they did. The Patriots went 10-0 in the division, 17-1 overall in the district, with a lone loss to Parkland. We'll get to that in just a minute. Just below the Pates in the East was Bethlehem Catholic. The defending 3A state champs had a few hiccups, going 7-3 with 2 losses to Freedom and another to Liberty. And speaking of the Canes, another team that made waves this year, they went 6-4. The West Division had our two usual suspects. In Parkland at the top, they went undefeated 10-0 in the division. Emmaus 8-2, those 2 losses to the Trojans, same as last season. And Northampton rounded out that top 3 at 5-5. So after a year hiatus, the EPC playoffs were back, and they certainly did not disappoint. The top seed in Parkland, well, they swept 5th-seeded Liberty in the semifinal round, and as for 2nd-seeded Freedom, they got swept by 3rd-seeded Emmaus in the semi. So here we are, Emmaus Parkland for the 3rd time this season, this time for the EPC title. Well, the Trojans were winners of their division last year. There was no EPC playoffs or champions, so the Parkland Trojans were technically defending champs, having won in 2019. But as far as everyone was concerned, it was a clean slate that Parkland would end up reclaiming. The Hornets put up a fight in the first set, but the Trojans would prevail 25-22 and make quick work of the second and the third to sweep the Hornets for the 3rd time and claim the East Penn Conference title. Of course, we cannot forget about the Colonial League. For the 5th time, it was Notre Dame Green Pond and Southern Lehigh dueling for that title. The Spartans had just 1 loss on its season, while the Crusaders had 5. Alyssa Adams had 12 kills for Southern Lehigh, who would earn its 5th consecutive Colonial League title, sweeping the Crusaders.
We just did everything well. We covered Carly's dumps so crazy. Like, we were so prepared. Yesterday's practice, we had a really good practice. And I think we were just really excited. We didn't want them to go to 5. We didn't want to make them look good at all. We wanted this win. We didn't want to embarrass ourselves. Like, we were determined.
Definitely our energy was so good. We worked together, we talked a lot. It felt like really good, and I'm so happy. I'm so proud of us. It was a great night.
Now moving on to districts, we focus on the 3A and the 4A class. In the 3A class, Southern Lehigh, having won the Colonial League championship, they're into that round. Semifinals, they face Bethlehem Catholic for the 2nd straight year. They get swept by the Golden Hawks, who would then go on to meet Pottsville in the championship game. Determined to defend its district and state title, the Golden Hawks came out swinging, making quick work of Pottsville, sweeping them in 3. The last 2 sets ending 25-13. Bethlehem Catholic captures its 2nd consecutive District 11 title.
It feels incredible. I can't even describe it, because we played very tough teams in the beginning of the season, and I didn't know if we were going to be able even to get to this point. So being able to get to this point is really amazing.
Now's the time to show up. I always tell them, like, when we are playing leagues in EPC, you got to win a certain amount of games to get to this point, and then once leagues are over, this is what matters. So I think maybe that's their mindset now, knowing that we just won a district title 2 years in a row, and now we're onto the states again. I think the girls are going to be super stoked for what's to come.
Now onto the 4A class semifinals, which was some of the best volleyball I've seen in a long time. First, taking a look at top-seeded Parkland taking on 4th-seeded Liberty. Now, coming into this match, Parkland had only lost 1 set all season to Freedom. They lose their 2nd on this night to Liberty. Parkland would win the first set 25-19, but the Canes came guns a-blazing in the second, led 6-5 and never looked back. 25-20 was the final in the second in favor of Liberty. If you've seen the Trojans, you know they don't dwell on set losses no matter how few they've actually lost. So in classic Parkland fashion, they stepped it up and went on an 11-1 run after trailing in the 3rd and went 1-up on the Canes. Juniors stand out, and probably one of the top players in the district and the state this past season, Elena Purcell, had 17 kills. Arguably another top player in the state, Bryn Dreisbach, had 14 as Parkland defeats Liberty 3-1. In the other semi, it was 3rd-seeded Emmaus against 2nd-seeded Freedom. Now, these two saw each other for the first time of the year year in the semifinal of the EPC playoffs. The Hornets would win that 3-0, but wouldn't be so successful this time around. Emmaus won the first set 25-22, and after that, Freedom kicked it into high gear. Senior Elizabeth Barnes had a career night for the Pates, earning 21 kills and 20 digs. The Pates cut Emmaus out of the picture, a picture they've been in for the last 3 years, and advanced to play the Trojans in the district final. Unfortunately for Freedom, this is where their story would end. The Trojans were too much and ended up pulling off a 3-set sweep to earn its eighth straight District 11 title. So here we go on to state, starting with Bethlehem Catholic, the defending 3A state champions. They breezed by the first round, beating Berwick in 3 sets. The second, they won 3-1 against York Suburban. Mackenzie Ruggiero had 21 kills in that match. Now, where they hit the roadblock came in the semifinals against Spring Grove. Now, Bethlehem Catholic had an incredible start to this match. It looked like this was going to be a runaway 3-set sweep, but this would turn south in the third as Spring Grove battled back and tied the match up at 2 sets apiece, forcing a third decisive set. Despite an incredible effort, which saw Ruggiero knock down 23 kills, Becca's season would end with a 15-12 5th set loss to the eventual state champion.
I can't be any more proud of them, and if we would have got to Saturday, it would have been a double whammy. But of course, no, we couldn't take the win. But I don't take anything away from that team. They played extremely well and picked our weaknesses, and I don't know, I'm extremely proud, and I wish it could have been a different turnout.
Now, Parkland, who was ranked #1 in the state by USA Today and Max Preps for most of the season, would only drop 2 sets on its way to the PIAA state final. Now, for the last 4 seasons, the Trojans fell in this semifinal round 3 times to Bishop Shanahan, and then last year to Unionville. They had the recipe to avoid that this season, and they would. The Eagles were their opponent in the semi, and the Trojans weren't going to let that happen again. The match was tied at 1 going into the third. The difference maker in this one, Parkland didn't commit a single service error on 93 serves for the very first time under 18-year head coach Mike Kraus. Heck, Elena Purcell even used her face to make sure the Trojans walked out of this gym victorious. Trojans win 3-1, and they are officially back in the state final for the first time since 2016.
We just enjoy being around each other. They want to learn, they want to get better. The coaches do a super job in explaining stuff and teaching them how to apply it. And now, Gwen, we're going to the state finals. It's been a while. This is so awesome. It's been so hard. It's been so hard, but our kids have been wonderful.
Unfortunately for the Trojans, they'd be dealt North Allegheny, the 5-time defending 4A state champions. Hey, Parkland fought. They won the first set 25-23. Purcell had 19 kills. Dreisbach had 15. Do want to mention that she also became the first ever Parkland girls volleyball player to reach 1,000 digs and 1,000 kills in a single career. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough against the Western PA powerhouse. Parkland fell 3-1, thus ending its incredible season.
Our kids fought. They did. They figured some things out. They extended the game plan because they saw some things. And North Allegheny, that block was huge. And our kids kept on fighting against it. Their setter, a 6-foot setter that you always have to worry on the tight passes. The kids answered, but they played hard and they left their hearts out on the floor. That's all I asked them to do.
No matter the outcome, I am so incredibly proud of all these athletes and these coaches for what they do every single year on the volleyball court. I fall more and more in love with this sport each and every year, and I don't think it's actually the sport. I think it's the athletes, the parents, the coaches, everybody involved in the Lehigh Valley volleyball community, and I'm so thankful I get to tell their stories each and every year. Until next time, I'm Gwen Begley for the Service Electric Network.